So, hello everyone. Today we will be doing an example of CRUD REST API using Java, Spring Boot, and H2 as well as PostgreSQL. Okay, so before we do our example, let's go through some basic concepts which you might be aware of. But let's begin. Okay, so REST controller. REST controller is basically an annotation and it is a specialized version of controller annotation. Okay, it is designed for building RESTful web services, simplify development process by combining functionality of controller and response body. Okay, so controller is basically we use controller as an annotation. And suppose I have got this controller here. Okay, REST controller. If you see it, it is basically offer us endpoint. So any client when client try to access a Spring Boot application, most of the times when client is using REST calls, then this part of the code is executed first. So it depending on the REST method client is making is calling. Okay, for example, your REST client want to get some ID, so client has to specify a URL / ID, and then this method will be invoked, and if and then the relevant information will be provided back to the client. Okay, so yeah, this is about controller, and let's have a look at Spring Data JPA. So Spring Data JPA is basically a data access framework designed to simplify database operations in a Spring application by leveraging JPA. Okay, so it extends JPA functionality with some additional abstraction repositories and query capabilities to make building data access layer more efficient. I'll give you an example. I specify something here. For example, I want to get students whose age is between 10 and 12. So let's start from student where age is greater or equal to 10 and age is less than equal to 12. Okay, suppose I want to execute this query via Spring Data JPA. I can use native SQL queries, or I have a second option. The second option is find age between int start int add and student age between. Okay, so this is one example. Okay, so this will automatically be converted into this and we'll get the response we want. I just gave you an example and we will do one relevant example in this example also. Okay, so here we talk about the DTO is an object that carry data between different processes in order to reduce number of method calls. For example, I have a client application and a server application. Client is making a call to server to get a certain number of certain information, and that information is available in different parameters or different fields. So it is possible to get those information by making multiple calls to those different methods and get that information, or we wrap that information in a one DTO and send it back to the client. Wrapping all that information in one DTO will save bandwidth and time, and it is more efficient. Okay, so that's what DTO basically does. As it is mentioned, reduce the number of method calls. Okay, it carries data between processes in order to reduce the number of method calls. Okay, here we have got an example too. By using DTO object, you can define DAO. DAO means data access object layer, handling many parameters or return highly structured data. As a consequence, you get more concise class with reduced number of required method. Okay, so here we can make a call to one method to get a DTO. Okay, so this is one advantage of having DTO, and it is heavily used in at least in Spring application development. Okay, so yeah, what is our agenda today? So our agenda is to generate a project using a Spring Initializer, then import that project using IDE, configure project dependencies and profiles, code to make system work, show demo, and show some problems. I have to highlight some problems, what problems I faced while developing this system. For example, user test is not acceptable. I will explain you why it is not acceptable, but user small letters test is acceptable. I also got some compatibility issue with the Spring Boot 3.5.0. I also had some Lombok issues, Lombok version issues especially, and yeah. Okay, I'm just thinking what else problem I got today. Okay, so let's go here. Spring Initializer. I write it as com.tech voila. Demo project for Spring Boot CRUD application. Okay, so here we have got Maven. Java is a programming language. Spring Boot version 3.5.0. Okay, and then we have Postgres, and then I use H2 database, then I will use web, and then I use what, Lombok. Okay, so at the moment we are using this. We generate the this project. Okay, then we will unzip this project and add it into our Spring our IDE. Okay, so I already coded it. I will explain you all possible classes and every important thing required to run this application. Okay. Okay, so initially I got this CRUD demo application automatically. Then I created an DTO. Okay, I annotated it with data because data will cover up all these annotations, so I don't need all these annotations at all. Okay, and then I annotated long ID as annotated with ID. Okay, what is ID? ID is an annotation part of Jakarta.persistence .id. Then I said generated value, generation type as identity. Okay, then I set column name, the label equal to false, means it can accept null also. So here I got a controller. Okay, and so this is our dependency that we are injecting it via application context. So a container I mean, and I don't need to annotate with auto-wired or do some manual work because this is also helping us to inject this dependency. This is apart from Lombok. Okay, so it means all our constructor, it means all argument constructor will be automatically created. Okay, so here we have got a get annotation. Okay, so get annotation stands for like when REST call is made. In that case, ID must be passed here. In case ID exists in the repository, then I will get some response. Like if it is present, then that this object will be filled with the response. Okay, and then it will be sent back to the client. And in case ID is not found, in that case, not found exception will be thrown. So here, this is a not found exception. Okay, this is the not found exception, and this exception is mapped in the global error handler class. Okay, it is handled like this. Okay, here I have got controller advice. Controller advice is used to handle global exception. It is annotated like this. Okay, here it is actually a component class internally. Okay, however, it is presented as a controller advice. Okay, in Spring Boot we have got many annotations which are internally as component, annotated as component. For example, configuration, repository, service, even REST controller and controller also. Okay, so this is done. Okay, so same principle apply here. Here I set it as get mapping name. Okay, I can't set it like this. Okay, if I set it, then I will get ambiguity issue. Okay, that's why I set it like this. So I could I can create disambiguation. Okay, so I client pass name as a parameter. If name is found, then response will be thrown. This response will be sent back. And if the name is not found, then error code will be sent back. Okay, so let's have a look at this. Okay, as I gave you an example of student age, same principle applies here. Find CRUD demo by name. It will become like this. Select star from CRUD demo where name equal to input name. Okay, so the name which I provide here will be compared to this, and if that match is found, then response will be sent back. And optional is like a container. It help developers a lot in saving time with null pointer exceptions. Okay, so suppose nothing is found, then this response will be empty. Okay, that we can see here. Wait a moment. Okay, here it is dealing with this option. Okay, so if yeah, so it will not return null, but it will return an instance of optional. Okay, it's like a container object. Okay, so now we deal with put mapping. Okay, this is basically used when we have to update our DTO. Okay, so an object will be passed here by a client, and then ID will be extracted. Then ID will be checked whether ID exists or not. If it exists, then data will be updated. If it does not exist, then exception will be thrown and mapped via global error handler. Let's see what other messages it has. Save and flush. Persist, do I have persist also? No, it is generally present in entity manager. Okay, entity manager factory. So that is another concept. But yeah, however it is. Okay, in case if I get some error which is not handled here properly, then exception will be cached here. Exception is a very super class of all exceptions. Okay, we can have a look at it. So it is in case some exception happen, then internal error code will be thrown back to the client. Okay, so now we have a look at a delete mapping. So here same principle is applied. Here client pass an ID. If that ID present, then that object will be deleted. That object will be deleted from the CRUD demo repository. Okay, from CRUD demo repository. Okay, and the response will be accepted. Okay, it is basically 202. Response message code is 202 control B. Okay, yeah, and in some exception had occurred which cannot be handled by this piece of code, then this exception will be taken care of by this piece of code, and it will show client internal server error. Okay, then we have got another post mapping. Okay, post mapping is to create a CRUD demo object in CRUD repository. So here we don't need to pass an ID but complete object. Okay, so then ID will be created. Okay, and then object will be created. Suppose some object is passed and that object has same ID, then we'll get some exception, because that primary key exception we will get. Okay, we don't have too much fields. We have got only 1 or 2 fields, so we will get chances are that if ID is same, then we will get primary key exception. Otherwise that object will be stored in the repository, in the database. Okay, so yeah, repository is done, controller, CRUD demo. Okay, now we discuss a little bit about resources. I set 2 profiles in this mini project. Okay, first profile is dev, second profile is local, and by default I configured dev. Okay, so I can show more. Okay, so I set servlet context path as CRUD demo. because this is also a CRUD demo application. This is Swagger UI, Open API. Swagger UI is old name of Open API. Okay, so this is how I configured Swagger Open API, and then I show you the dependency. This is the dependency I used for Open API. However, I'm using bit old dependency because I have got some compatibility issues. Okay, as I can show you that here I used 3.5.0 version of Spring Boot, but I am not using this version, Spring Boot version, because it has also some compatibility issues, and I hope that this problem could be solved by Spring Boot soon. Okay, so I use 3.2.5 version of Spring Boot. This is like I did not fill up any such thing, anything here, and yeah. Okay, here I also set version because I was getting some error that this version cannot be null. Okay, so that's why I set it like this. Okay, I also set Lombok version 1.8.32 because I found that this here my Lombok is not working well. That's why I was getting null pointer exception. So in case you are getting null pointer exception, so you could consider to see your Lombok configuration. Okay, normally it must be enabled, but yeah, you have to see it in your IDE. And everything is fine, then this must not be null at any case. Okay, and yeah. Okay, so this is the def. Okay, so I explain you a bit. Okay, this is I already explained. I explain you this thing. Okay, this is already comment. I already commented it out. Okay, so this spring.data source.url. Here I have JDBC Postgres. This is the name of host name. This is the port number. I'll show you why I'm using 5433. Okay, this is the name of database, and if database does not exist, then it will be created automatically. Here I have got username and password as test. Initially I used it like this, but I was getting some issue, and I thought I could write some script to update it on Dockerize Postgres, but I thought it's better to have small letters. So in case you also get similar problem, you could decide whether you want to update your Dockerize Postgres via some script, or you can directly write it like this. Okay, and I'm using DDL as create, so every time my application is created, so all database will be recreated. Okay, there is no case of update. No, there is no case of already existing data. Okay, and this dialect is PostgreSQL, and pool size is 2. Okay, so now I explain a little bit about local profile. Here I set configuration for h2. H2 is in memory database. Here I set password as SA, and however I set it like update, but I don't need update. I can use create because here I'm also using create. Okay, so this is the explanation of this. Okay, now I have just configured Spring Boot application like this. Okay, however I did not tested it, and this thing. So initially I tested this thing, but I did not test it with this thing. So I'll test in front of you and let's see what happens. So here I have got Docker file. So initially it is creating a Maven build. This is a multi-stage Docker file. It is creating a Maven build, and then it is creating a jar file. Like it is running a jar file. So that reference, like why I need it, because I have to give reference from here, so my application can run. Okay, however I don't not test it. Let's test it and see what happens. Okay, so this is Docker. Okay, so I have to get inside this folder first of all. Okay, so let's run the container and see what happened. First I stop all running containers. Okay, then I restarted all containers. I specified as build because I recently changed this piece of script. Okay, this much. So in case I change my docker compose file or docker file, then in that case I have to build the compose. Okay, so any docker file associated with this docker compose is changed. In that case I have to build docker compose with docker compose up hyphen hyphen build. Okay, so that's why it is getting built, and let's see what happens now. Hmm. Okay, so first time it might take bit more time. Let's see. तीसरी बार बना रहा हूँ वीडियो, तो क्या चल रहा Okay, it seems like my build is failed. Okay, okay, I know the reason why it is getting failed. So let's fix this problem. First problem is, okay, this is the first reason. Second reason is connection refused. Okay, check host name port are correct 5433. Mm-hmm. So let's see. Can you connect to Postgres? Your username, your password, Postgres user, Postgres. Why I have two usernames? Okay, username, your password, your DB name. I think it needs some time to check health. It seems like. Hmm. Okay. Mhm. Okay, so let's restart this application again. It is refusing to connect. So problem must be happening here somewhere. Mhm. Hmm. I retry this thing. Yeah. Let's see what happens this time. Okay, controller. Wow. So application has started. I think the problem was this. Here I did not set -t skip. So test was failing. That's why it was not able to connect. Okay, so that's what I think. Does not exist skipping. Hmm. So let's have a look at this. Okay, so not in this port, but in another port. Yeah. So we will perform manual testing in this Open API. So first we create an object, as we are not uh, pre-filling our database. So we do it. We created this JSON for CRUD demo. We click the execute button, and we got the response 201. So first entry is entered into the database. Now we check here, does it exist? Yes, it exists. Now we check our demo name. This time we will check it only by name, not by ID, and we are getting this. So we tested 3 APIs, then we update it. Okay, ID test demo. Okay, so click the execute button, and our response code is 201. Okay, so it seems like that it worked, and let's see what happened here. Test demo. So it is also working. Now we delete our entry by ID. Okay, what happened if we put 2 here? So we are getting error response code 500. It is a wrong response. Okay, I will see why. It is again 202. 202 is correct response, but why I got 500, that I want to see. So I have to see the container logs. Mhm. Okay, I do one thing. Mhm. Delete. Okay. Okay, suppose I delete it with 2. Let's see what happened. 500. 500 is something which I'm not expecting. And let's. Mhm. It is 404. But why I'm getting 500? That is a question. I can do one thing. Mhm. Okay, I do one thing. I put 2 here. Let's see what happened. 404. It is working here, but it is not working here. So this is incorrect. Hmm. So that's the reason why we need logger. Hmm. So I have to configure my container for debugger. Let's see if it works like this. Hmm. So that debugging I can show you in the next video. Okay. No, I should see. Yeah, I'll show you debugging in the next video. Okay. And I have to think about it how to do it.